Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fundy Tidings. I'm your host, Jay Reamer, and with me today is Sunbury Shores' new Executive Director, Claire Shiplett. Welcome to the show, Claire.
Hi, thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me.
This is so exciting to have you here, a new face in town and some new energy into the center. So for people who aren't familiar with the center, would you like to sort of give us a little bit of a history of Sunbury Shores?
Sure, yeah. So the center was established in 1964 by Mrs. Eidlitz, who was a summer resident of St. Andrews, and she was a Zen Buddhist, and she wanted to create opportunities for people to appreciate the connection between art and nature, and she actually started the center out in her own home. And then a few years later, Centennial House was purchased, which is our building now, which is right on Water Street, right downtown in St. Andrews. And for, over the years, Sunbury Shores has played a very big role in developing the arts and nature education in Charlotte County. In 2013 and 2014, we did some complete renovations to our buildings. So we now are offering these state-of-the-art facilities. We have a multi-purpose studio for drawing, painting, stained glass, and lots of other things up there. We have a non-toxic printmaking studio, which is fantastic, an art and nature library, a pottery studio, a new metalsmithing studio as of 2016, which we're very excited about, and 2 galleries for exhibitions. Mm-hmm. So it's a really wonderful facility, and it's open year-round for the community. So,
well, I, as you may know, have been involved with Sunbury Shores in the past for a long time, mm-hmm. and it's wonderful to see the transformation and the improvements, and it's got a new breath of life in it, mm-hmm. which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So if someone was to just sort of be wandering down Water Street and they walk past Sunbury Shores, what would they see when they go into the gallery?
Well, when you first walk in, you'd enter our Water Street Gallery, which is a very beautiful space. It has a lot of natural light, and you'd be struck by high-quality art, from photography to sculpture to fiber, by New Brunswick artists and artists from other places as well. We have Canadian and international artists. And looking right through, you'd see into the back gallery, where we're going to be showcasing work by our summer instructors, and out onto the back deck and a view of the bay and Navy Island. So that's kind of a source of inspiration right there. Mm-hmm. You might see a class happening on the back deck, like outdoor painting, or you might see a group of students out on the beach looking for sea glass and shells to work on a marine debris art workshop. As you go through the studios, you might see kids working on learning how to make pinch pots, and people learning etching in the printmaking studio. And we're offering over 40 courses this summer for kids, teens, and adults. So there's a wide range of art that's happening at the center. And I mean, no matter what's going on, I think the thing that really makes an impression on people is the fact that you get a really good sense of a community when you go in there. It's open, it's supportive. These are people who believe in making with your own hands and in the power of creativity and of sharing that knowledge. So,
well, it's amazing to me over the years how other media has been incorporated there. So, for instance, you have music from time to time, mm-hmm. and then there are lectures about one thing and another. Mm-hmm. And there are people, it's a very busy sort of community hub, which is something that the center was, I think, always intended to be. And I think that it's actually hitting stride now, which is good. It kind of goes in waves, but it's hitting the top of a wave right now, which is really wonderful. I think the visuals that you see in those big windows is fantastic. But what is it about art and nature that is they're intertwined, mm-hmm. and the center is one of the oldest centers for teaching this in combination. What is the significance of combining those two subjects?
Yeah. Well, I think, like you say, I mean, they're deeply intertwined. I think learning about the environment, about sustainability and natural processes, about our local surroundings, and learning how to express our ideas through art, being able to do that is very important, because art has always been a powerful vehicle for translating kind of how we see the world into a form that I think can really transcend barriers and differences. So it's also a very powerful vehicle for change, on small levels and large levels. And I think learning about nature through art and developing a positive relationship with nature can help us to better reflect on our relationship to the outside world. Like, we don't create in a vacuum, we create together, and we have to look outward as well as inward. So I think it can be a very powerful way of bringing those two things together. And St. Andrews, I think, is a wonderful, unique place that has this rich history as an artist colony with, William Van Horn and Molly Lamb Bobach and Fred Ross, and that community is still going very strong today. Mm-hmm. And then you also have the rich history with research in marine sciences with the DFO and the Huntsman, and so those two fields really converge here. And mm-hmm. I think Sunbury Shores presents the opportunity to deliver that arts and nature education together, which, has the opportunity for cross-disciplinary exchange, for that kind of cross-pollination that I think is very valuable, especially like moving forward and mm-hmm. dealing with issues.
One of the things that has been most successful, from my understanding, is the class program. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons that the class program has been successful is because it enables students, all students really, around, I don't know if it's all of Charlotte County, but certainly St. Andrews, mm-hmm. To learn different perspectives.
Yes, yeah.
And it oftentimes helps students who have a difficult time studying. It gives them a way to connect. Mm-hmm. And I think what you were referring to with this connection between art and nature, it transcends into students' ability to learn too.
Yes, definitely.
Are there a lot of classes for youth as well as adults this summer, right?
Yes.
And through the year, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So the class program, we're kind of just wrapping up right now for this year. So they're going to have their exhibition soon at the Sir James Dunn Academy, which is fantastic.
Oh, it's going to be up there.
Yeah. Yes, it is this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be in their own space, and it'll be interesting to see it up there. And then we're also doing teen art camps this summer. We have classes for kids with the Huntsman Marine Science Center and marine debris art. We're doing some art in the park in Kingsbury Gardens. So there's even more happening as well with our community partners having to do with kids and youth as well. So there's a lot there for people of all ages.
So moving forward, is establishing relationships with other organizations important to you and to the board?
Yeah, I really think it is. I always believe that we're stronger together, and in pooling our resources and our different strengths, that's really where you can create something that's special and impactful. I have always kind of taken a collaborative approach to creating programs, and I think St. Andrews, with all of these resources, of the different arts organizations, with the science organizations and more, there's just so much to draw from. So I think one of the things that I hope to bring to the center as the new ED is a very an openness to participating and to drawing from different people's ideas and working together to create something that's going to be innovative and mean something to the community.
Well, there's been a very strong push lately to do just that, I think. And one of the things that many years ago, I became involved with the Tidings Institute in Eastport. And Eastport was an artist colony going well back into the early 20th century, when people would get in their jalopies or their buggies and come up for the summertime. And it's been, the climate is so agreeable that it was a logical place to come. It's sort of like the Ashcan School running off to New Mexico in the winter years ago. I also know that there are these little sculpture trails and ways for people who are really interested in art to become involved in the region. And how is Sunbury Shores participating, so to speak? Do you see a vision for a regional kind of base because there is a cultural identity to the region, and I'm just wondering how that is going to be developed moving forward.
Yeah, well, I think what you say is very true, that it's not just, we're not trying to just focus, on Sunbury Shores as this singular entity that doesn't, exist within this larger community and cultural space. So I think being able to work together with, say, Ganong Nature Park, we're looking at doing some programming with them, and looking at working with different partners with the community and different groups of people and a diverse group of people to really help to kind of strengthen that voice of Charlotte County, of the Bay of Fundy, of seeing that all of these things are connected and they're all going to strengthen what we can kind of articulate as our unique place here. So
because there's a strong, there is a strong artist group of artists who are actually professional artists who make their living painting or sculpting or doing jewelry or whatever. And there also is a strong component of musicians, and that's been something that's been gradually, it's been sort of converging on the center over the years, and I think it really enriches the community of Charlotte County as a whole. So it's really a county-wide spread.
Yeah.
Where did you? I'm just curious as to, because we'd never met, previous to you coming to St. Andrews. What is your background as far as your interest in arts and culture?
Sure, yeah. So I'm trained as a photographer and filmmaker, and I also have training in performance art. So I went to school for that at Wellesley College, as well as the Slade School of Fine Art in London, UK. And I worked for the New Brunswick Crafts Council as their project manager. So I helped to put together craft exhibitions in different art galleries around the province, helped to promote that sector, worked with craftspeople to try to really spread kind of fine craft as this idea and as something meaningful, and put on kind of these community festivals. And after that, I worked with the New Brunswick Art Board, helping to connect artists with funding. So helping, learning about the projects that they were planning on doing and helping to make that possible so they could access grants. But I've always been really interested in working at a community arts center, at really bringing artists and community members together and making those meaningful kind of engagements happen. And I've also been really interested in curatorial and gallery work. So Sunbury Shores is kind of that hybrid model of gallery and community center. And one of the things that we're going to be working on is really making that community center even more vibrant. So apart from, the workshops and the exhibitions and the artist talks, having members of the community come in and feel that they're able to work on their own time and really have this kind of communal feeling of ownership over the center, and trying to make it a place where they feel that they can come and have it be accessible. So
I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, but I know that one of the struggles that any not-for-profit organization faces is financial difficulties and gaining access to grants. I'm just wondering, when we want to get funding from government, oftentimes it's the cultural pieces that tend to be chopped off first. How do you feel about that? And is there a new way of looking at this dynamic where we can sort of help the government change their mind about the significance of culture in the vibrancy of a community and in the sustainability of a community? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's a big question, but I will try to kind of bring my own angle to it. So I think one of the resources that we have in this province is ArtsLink, which is an organization that works on arts advocacy and putting together resources for artists and arts enthusiasts and administrators to be able to communicate the importance of the arts to our economy, to our culture, to our societies, and to the vibrancy of our cities and that sustainability. So that's a really great resource, and I think it's just being able to educate people on the value value that arts brings, both in, in small ways and in large ways. And part of that, I think, is just getting it out in front of people, taking a class of, say teenagers and having them working on a participatory project and create something that is going to be visible to the community. And you see right there that these are, that they're learning that kind of their input is valuable, and that there's importance in being able to work together, to see things in a different way, to solve problems. And I think just creating strong advocates for the arts, especially at a young age.
It seems to be, if we can educate and get the young kids enthused about the whole thing, that hopefully when they grow up and take on start to carry the reins, they'll appreciate the significance. Not to take away from it's not easy running a government, but I always get frustrated when the first things that get chopped are the cultural things, because it's so it wipes out some of the vibrancy of a community.
It does, yeah.
So as far as this summer goes, are there any sort of new innovative programs that you're particularly excited about at the center? With 40 programs, surely there is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I mentioned, we have a new metalsmithing studio. So we have artists like renowned metalsmith Brigitte Clavette, like Kristen Cooper. We have Matt Watkins, who works with us quite often. And so we're going to be offering classes for teens and adults in our jewelry studio, which is very exciting, and it's something that kids don't really have access to these days unless they're going to the craft college, or there's not really a place for it. So that's really exciting. And one of the programs that I've been working on since I got here is our outreach. So we're doing outreach this summer to Back Bay Elementary School, to Milltown Elementary School, and the Dragonfly Center for Autism. And we're going to be focusing on education about pollinators, so looking at mostly moths, bees, and butterflies and the role that they play in the environment. So we're pairing an arts instructor from Sunbury Shores who's going to work with them on creating art around that theme, and then also working with the Conservation Council and bringing someone in to do some education about that, and actually having the kids plant a small pollinator garden at their own school, so that they'll be able to kind of witness these changes and actually have a place in their own space that they can take ownership of.
That's very exciting. I mean, that's really coloring outside of the lines, as they say. I think that's fantastic. Now, as far as this print studio goes, I remember when the print studio was kind of put together. And I remember when Robert Vanderpeer came to town, and this whole focus on non-toxic printmaking was very innovative when he first came, and and it was very interesting to people around the world that this could actually be accomplished. And that was a number of years ago, and he's still going strong.
He is,
and it's an incredible. How is the center with little pieces like that, and perhaps with this new metalsmithing studio and the pottery studio and everything? How does this center fit in internationally to other arts and nature centers? I know it's one of the oldest, but are there other ones popping up or communicating with Sunbury Shores?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely working on building those ties. Like you mentioned, the Tides Institute. There's the Imago printmaking studio in Moncton. There's different arts and culture centers that we can work more to kind of collaborate together. But yeah, Sunbury Shores with the non-toxic printmaking studio, with our new metalsmithing studio, I think we're offering something very special where you can come and work on different mediums of art, especially for kids and teens. And with it being environmentally friendly, you don't have to worry about all that toxicity, and you can show them that you can do this in a way that's sustainable and that's non-toxic. So I think we're definitely up there, and we're working on becoming kind of the #1 destination for arts and nature in Eastern Canada, which is, you know, a tall order, but it's an exciting one, and it's one that's going to take, you know, the whole community getting together to not, you know, make Sunbury Shores that #1 destination, but to make, you know, St. Andrews that #1 destination. So
well, it is amazing what's going on in St. Andrews. I mean, it has maintained its historic significance over the years without a historic bylaw, which is hopefully going to be changed softly. But I think that the excellence, it's the standard of excellence that Sunbury Shores has set for itself that is very reflective of St. Andrews in general.
Yes.
Some of it St. Andrews has just sort of fallen into by not screwing things up. But there are other examples. For instance, the new project at Minister's Island, which is an ongoing concern, is going to attract a lot of world attention. Kingsbury Garden is another example. This Kira Art Center, which is going to be artists in residence. These are all incredible opportunities, I would think, for Sunbury Shores to go even further. And so do you find cooperating with those groups to be helpful?
Definitely, yeah. And I'm, you know, we're talking with Kingsbury and the Cura program to get some of those artists to come into Sunbury Shores to do kind of a group panel and meet some of our local artists in the community. And we're looking at ways that we can really help bring those artists into the community and help bring artists who work with us to have some interaction with the Cura artists as well. So I think it's really trying to create that strong ecosystem of the arts here, which is really going to help attract those exceptional artists and bring that international attention here. And, you know, Sunbury Shores we're looking at developing more interesting programs that connect science and art and that will attract those artists as well, and those kind of new seeds of creativity. So yeah, I think it's key. I think working together with the different groups who are, you know, everyone's kind of coming at it from a different angle, but that's really, I think, what's going to help enliven this place and make it something where artists want to come and they want to experience St. Andrews for all that it has.
Well, I don't think it's a secret that having more than one perspective is helpful. But I'm wondering if there was, you know, because I know in the shoulder season, it's always more of a challenge to get people to walk through the doors. What do you think, as far as the local people getting excited about the center? What are your thoughts about getting people enthused? Because, you know, you have the artist community, and you don't have to really do much about them except pat them on the back and here's your paint and off you go. But what about bringing new people? Because I know as we age, there are opportunities for us to try drawing or painting or sculpting that we'd never dared do before, you know, because there's a fear factor involved.
Right.
Is there something afoot or going to encourage that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you just mentioned, with seniors, we have a Try Art program, which is generally these weekend courses where they can come and try classes at a very low cost, which can be great because then you can, you know, really explore and find these different possibilities for yourself. But I'm also going to be, just in trying to get people more enthused about the center and more interested in what we do, I'm going to be trying to implement some more social kind of art making. So, you know, some social printmaking, kind of open studio times where people can drop in and get to know some of the processes and just get their hands dirty without making this big commitment. And I think trying to create more social programming for the community to get together and have Sunbury Shores be that creative hub, and not necessarily one where you have to take, you know, one full week-long class, but something where you can come in and play and explore, and then, you know, eventually maybe you're ready to make that leap to a larger commitment. So I think creating more social programming, whether it's, you know, informal arts dinners and getting people together, or getting them into our print shop. We just had a workshop for lino cut printmaking that was just an evening and the next day at a low cost, and that people were really excited to get into that print shop. So.
It's amazing, really, how easy some of these techniques are to not master, but be comfortable with, and you can actually produce something that looks like what you were hoping for. And I think it's a great thing for the community. It really is, and I think it's fantastic that you're here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
What would be, you know, if you had a couple of takeaways that you'd really like people to have emblazed in their minds about Sunbury Shores and the direction that it's going, what would you like people to take away from this?
Well, I think one thing that we're going to be really working on is bringing the nature side of our mandate back into being central to our programming and to our purpose for the community, because that's been a little bit more dormant as we've been attracting these exceptional artists to kind of learn and instruct and exhibit here. So nature, I think, is going to be a big part of what we do. It always has been, but it's been a little bit more off to the side lately. And I think, you know, youth, kids and teens, and trying to create more community engaged programming. So I think, you know, we're open, the doors are open, and I think just having people come in and explore, but there's definitely going to be, you know, a lot more collaboration, where kids and teens kind of out and about and doing art and learning about nature and the nature education piece.
I think one of the great things about Sunbury Shores, any change that I may have seen in the last, say, decade, is that it is very much more inclusive. The community feels that it is really a cultural center, and it's not exclusive to fancy painters or anything like that. It's really a community center.
Yes, definitely.
And I think that it's so exciting. So congratulations for being here, and thank you very much for coming in today and,
thanks for having me.
Telling us about Sunbury Shores. And thank you all for watching today. I look forward to seeing you again on another episode of Fundy Tidings.